understanding of economics. Most people don't understand it. But look, I mean, there are a lot of reasons that socialism is appealing to people, especially when they're young, right? There's an old saying that if you're not socialist or if you're not a liberal, by the time you're 21, you don't have a heart.
Right.
If you're not a conservative, by the time you're 28, you don't have a head.
Brain.
Right. Yeah. So liberals are just people that never grew up, right? It's like they still believe in Santa Claus. That's what it is. You just never
socialists,
yes.
in particular, not necessarily liberals.
Even people believing in big government, because usually what happens is, when you're a kid, right, and when you're in high school, you've never had a job, and all this stuff sounds great until you're out in the real world paying taxes.
Welcome to Unfiltered and Unapologetic with Pick and Stein. Pick, what's going on?
Welcome. I'm excited to be here again, dude. I'm loving what we have going.
Yeah, that was a little clip from Peter Schiff on the Joe Rogan podcast
about how socialism is a mental disorder. Is that how he put it, or is that how you put it?
Well, I said liberalism was, but I think socialism is too, if you're a firm believer in it after all the evidence. And I'm not the only one. Jorge Masvidal, the bad motherfucker, he's come out on his campaign, Fighters Against Socialism, as a Cuban immigrant, and talked about the perils of socialism as well. I don't know if you've seen that. He's been on Fox News and all over Instagram and Twitter recently.
I haven't seen that. We'll have to maybe put that in the descriptions or something, because I'd be interested to see that.
Maybe we can get him on the show.
What's that?
You think we can get him on the show, Jorge? Think he'll come on? Game Bred Fighter? On
hey,
Twitter?
You never know.
I'll DM him. We'll see what he says.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you never know if you don't ask.
It's true.
Well, we took an off day, so I feel like we have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, we did.
I think you might have been a little hungover on Sunday from your night out.
I don't know what your excuse was, but
honestly, I don't even remember. I have no idea what my excuse was.
I wanted to save up all my good content for today.
I was listening to someone talk about the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was cracking me up, because he was saying, if you watch the Joe Rogan podcast and use it for your information source about all your stats and facts and everything, he just said, that's not the smartest thing in the world. Joe Rogan is just a normal guy who likes to interview people, and I kind of feel like we're the same way, but we definitely have some opinions we like to push out there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't pulled a fact that he said. I've just provided we've just plugged their conversations that I thought were interesting, but we haven't had Joe said X amount of people did this, and then just kind of had opinions that I think are interesting. Yeah, you're right. He's not an expert by any means. He's just really interesting and engaging. So it's kind of like us. We're certainly not experts, although I think we're pretty smart people. We'll have to find out more about that when we divulge our IQ tests on Sunday. I know you're feeling pretty good about yours.
We've both taken it, so maybe today, maybe Sunday. I don't know. We'll have to. I don't know your score, and you don't know mine.
That's
true.
This
is going to be interesting.
I did say that Albert Einstein beat me by a few points, so I'm not a genius. I thought at one point in my life I thought I may be, and now I've realized I'm far from it.
No, you're not far from genius. All right, you're in the top. You got to be in the top 10% of all the population.
I might be. I did say that I'm above 84, which was below average. So I will admit that I'm average or better.
Should we make all of our politicians take an IQ test, Stein? What do you think?
Joe Biden would not like that, because I don't know if he would beat 85 right now. Maybe earlier in his career, I don't doubt it. But now with the dementia that's set on, it's a terrible thing. But just, I mean,
even the young politicians, I don't even think AOC would score well on an IQ test. Let's be honest.
No, I don't think so.
But what I'm saying is, shouldn't we have the smartest people in the world dealing with our government policies? Shouldn't there be something in there that?
Yeah, to an extent. You don't want complete idiots in there, but at the same time, I don't put too much credence on these IQ tests and stuff like that. I think there's a lot more to it than IQ, but I think you at least need to be average if you're going to be in a major position of power. I think that's fair. If you're significantly below average, that's a little concerning for sure.
I think so too. I don't know how I feel about these IQ tests because, to be honest, you could get really lucky and just guess on a lot of them and get a bunch of questions right and have a higher IQ, lower IQ. It doesn't seem to be too indicative of intelligence, in my opinion.
Well, how do you define intelligence?
Oh gosh. Freaking no.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like, if you were to, like, I don't even want to bring up Olivia, but she's literally a genius.
Okay.
But I don't know how she would do on a IQ test, right?
So that's why you're marrying her for your kids. You want to breed young geniuses.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah. We want two high intelligence people breeding.
Yeah, that's good. Elon Musk was talking about this the other day, or at least I was watching a clip of it. I always have to bring Elon into every episode we have. You know that. So he was like, smart people tend to either have one kids or don't have kids a lot of times because they're so career focused, and it's actually bad because it's a net negative for the smartest part of the population. And lower income people who may have lower IQs, less education, they tend to have more kids. And he talks about how that's a bad thing for society and the world. And I thought that was really interesting.
There's an advantage to having kids when, I hate to say this, but when you're at home, a single mom, and you get more subsidies from the government if you have more kids. So,
welfare, the child
I'm not
tax
saying
credit,
that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's kind of a fact. So
who knows? You're gonna have two kids. It sounds like you guys already discussed this. Two young Pickerings.
I think what we're going to do is, at least three young Pickerings running around. Hopefully, at least two boys, maybe an NFL athlete. We'll have to see. And then
the family
we've talked about adopting eventually. I'm taking notes from Amy Coney Barrett. Dude.
A young African
she's
child,
incredible.
perhaps.
Well, let's just go ahead and talk about Amy Coney Barrett real quick because I think with the
she's has a biracial family.
Dude, I think what the Democrats are doing to her is kind of despicable, in my opinion. There was a senator from New Jersey yesterday, Cory Booker. I had to write down his name because it made me so mad when he did this. He literally asked her in these hearings to condemn white supremacy. And I just sit there and shake my head. She's adopted two kids, two African Americans from Haiti, and raised them as her own. And of course she condemns white supremacy. What type of question even is that? It's insane.
Yeah, I agree. The liberals keep pushing that narrative that, Trump's a white supremacist, and that if you don't actively come out and condemn white supremacy every other week, you're guilty. And they just want to continue to race bait and build up that up until the election. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's a shame, but it's the world we live in. I saw a clip of I forget which senator it was, but obviously it was a Democratic senator that was going on and on trying to get her to condemn a hypothetical question if Trump were to restrict certain races from voting. I'm like, these people are truly delusional. Like what? And she's like, she cited the 14th and 15th Amendment and talked about it in the terms of the Constitution, but she's not going to interject her own opinion, even though, of course, that would be wrong. And he's not doing that. But it's like they just want sound bites.
Yeah, at the end of it, she goes, she can't answer. She said, I can't speak on hypotheticals.
Yes.
She's done it for both sides.
Exactly. She's done it for both sides. And that's so it's.
And that brings me to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden real quick. I know we're not hitting all the topics we wanted to, but I love what we're doing here. So someone brought to my attention the other day, you see all of Trump's kids advocating for him and campaigning for him and being frontline. And where in the hell's Hunter Biden, dude? Is he just coked out somewhere and he doesn't, they don't want to put him anywhere in front of the media because they know he's going to say something stupid or do something stupid?
I have heard absolutely nothing about Biden's kids except for negative things. And I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, he's coked out somewhere. Is he banging another stripper, having another illegitimate kid with him? Who knows? I mean, the more I find out about this guy, the more fucked up it is. And like, I don't even really care. Like, the only thing I really care about is the fact that Biden sounds like he very well may have been complicit in corruption in helping his son secure a $1.5 billion in asset and cash to manage from China. And he's taking a 20% profit and 2% management fee on that. It's $30 million. It's insane. So I don't know for sure whether this is true or not, right? And I know that Twitter and Facebook are now condemning it as fake news because, granted, the New York Post is not the most reliable source, but they published Trump's tax returns that were obtained illegally. So, I mean, to me, that's bullshit that they're censoring the hell out of this, which is actually backfired in my opinion because it's gone viral amongst all the Republicans and it's been on the news trending because of the censorship. So to me, it's a double standard we talked about before where they're silencing conservative voices, and also it's just censoring one but not the other when they were all probably obtained illegally.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, came out and tweeted that any censorship of media sources is pretty much unacceptable, was I think his term he used.
Bullshit.
But
yeah,
of course he had to do that because he had to save his own ass. But it's clear they're censoring that whole entire report. And like you said, what was it? New York Times? It's not New York Times. New York. What was it? The media source.
New York Post.
Stein?
New York Post.
New York Post. Yeah. Is clearly left leaning, and they're the ones that published it. So why is that being censored? And when dude, I'm telling you, that some stuff is going to come out about the Obama presidency, and before this election happens, something's going to come out about how corrupt the Obama presidency was.
Oh, it's already starting to leak out, and they're trying to censor it as much as they can.
Yep, we'll see what happens. I'll be interested. That you know how much Trump probably knows that we have no idea, and that's what blows my mind.
Right? Yeah, I'll play a little bit of this clip along those lines from Donald Trump Jr., who is actively campaigning for his father for re-election, unlike Hunter Biden, who, as we probably know, is cracked out somewhere or doing God knows what.
His father's political power to sell out the United States of America to our enemies and enrich himself and the Biden family. Hunter Biden used Air Force Two to travel to China with his father for business meetings with top communist Chinese officials. Hunter founded and sat on the board of a private equity firm that raised $1.5 billion from the Chinese government via the state-owned Bank of China. Hunter was involved with communist Chinese nationalists who gave the Bidens millions in exchange for access to American companies that produced technology with our military. In 2014, Vice President Joe Biden took the lead on policy in the Ukraine. At the same time, Hunter Biden joined the board of a Ukrainian energy company where he made $83,000 a month. Around the same time that a Ukrainian prosecutor began an investigation into the levels of corruption at Hunter Biden's company, Joe Biden was threatening to withhold U.S. aid to Ukraine if that very prosecutor was not immediately fired from his job. The prosecutor was fired. In a speech to the Council on Foreign Relations, Joe Biden actually bragged about how he got that prosecutor fired by effectively blackmailing the Ukrainian government with taxpayer money.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
There you have it. Straight from Joe's dirty mouth to our clean ears.
There you go. And that brings the question, who's the real Beijing Biden? Is it Hunter or is it Joe?
The whole fucking family, bro. I mean, Hunter had absolutely zero experience in energy before that deal, and now he's taking home $83,000 a month. Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wish my father was a former vice president. Be making bank. This podcast would be through the roof.
$83,000 a month. Let's be honest. That'll be chump change compared to what we'll be making once this podcast takes off, right?
I hope so. We're going to have to sell a lot of merch.
I love it. All right, what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about.
Should we talk about the other half of the Biden ticket, old Kamala? Am I pronouncing that right?
I think you might have mispronounced it. Yeah, but Kamala sounds about right.
I thought it was K-U-M. Is it K-A-M?
Well, you're the expert on how old Kamala slept her way to
Kamala.
the top.
Oh, it's Kamala.
I'd
Okay.
love Kamala. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I must have mispronounced it.
Well,
So I'd love to hear more about
she
it.
likes it when you call her Mamala, is what I'm told. She got her start in politics by dating the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. And Willie Brown was allegedly still married at the time, although he denies that. He said they were separated. And, whatever, like you date somebody in politics, that's fine. The most strange thing about it was at the time, Kamala was 29 and old Mayor Willie Brown was 60. Little bit of an age gap there, Pick. I mean, I've been with some younger girls, all legal, of course, but 30 years, double my age. Goodness gracious. I mean, who knows? I'm not going to judge her. Like, maybe when I'm 60, I'll be dating a hot 30-year-old. Who knows?
If you can get to that point, I'll praise you, Stein.
Now, if I was carrying public office, probably wouldn't be a great look for my image. And then if the girl who I was dating happened to get a nice promotion within to the district attorney's office, it would look a little suspicious. The Alameda County District Attorney Office is where Harris began her career.
So does she get promoted within, because she was the DA or a part of the DA's office in San Francisco, or was she got her start and pretty much got a promotion within the DA's office in San Francisco? Is that because that's where Willie was working, right?
Well, he was the mayor, so of course he has control over that. So she ran for San Francisco DA in 2003, and that's when she run. So she
stop there. Does it continue to go on?
She was appointed. She was appointed to 2 well-paying posts within the administration, and he's on record as saying, "Yes, I may have influenced her career by appointing her to 2 state commissions when I was Assembly Speaker." And he was the speaker from 1980 to 95. So even after he was no longer the speaker, he still, I'm sure carried influence and, endorsed her and helped her in her successful DA run in 2003. But I think the more shocking thing is the fact that, that they dated and then she was appointed to these well-paying jobs within the administration. And I'm not really sure what experience she had prior that really qualified her. Well, this is, once she got it, she was the DA. She then prosecuted endless minorities and blacks for minor petty drug offenses and weed. And she even joked about she'd smoked weed, I think, herself. I think we touched on the biggest thing of the potential corruption there. Well, this is allegedly a quote that Kamala Harris said when she was DA. Brown wrote, "The difference is that Harris is the only one who, after I helped her, sent word that I would be indicted if I so much as jaywalked." I mean, dude, that's politics for you.
Absolutely.
And I'm referencing, if you want to look it up, it's one of Pick's favorite publications, USA Today. Former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown writes about dating Kamala Harris, and that was published January of 2019, so not too long ago.
Wow.
I'm surprised it hasn't been taken. Surprised they haven't taken that down yet.
It's got to be in his 80s now, right?
Pick that article will be after we release this podcast. That article will be gone.
Probably. There'll be a huge upsurge in people reading the
a
article.
404 page. Yeah, you go to that link. That's been scrubbed along with all of Hillary Clinton's emails. All 33,000 of them.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and while we're talking about California, and I know this is kind of a weird transition here, but I know we want to talk about this today anyways. I was watching a Ben Shapiro video about healthcare and how about California struck down legislation to pass universal healthcare in the state of California because he knew it would just bankrupt. They knew it would bankrupt the state, as if they aren't already bankrupt, to be honest. So, I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about healthcare today. So,
yeah, absolutely, that's interesting. Please expand upon it. What
Well,
do you think about healthcare? And California's got a ton of problems. We talked about before. Everyone's moving out of that state in droves. But what is it that I've seen these commercials that Biden campaign is running? They'll get a kid with a pre-existing condition or a family, and they're saying if Trump gets reelected, we're going to be screwed. We're going to have all these medical bills, and that Trump, doesn't take care of people with pre-existing conditions, which I think is like the biggest point they're attacking on healthcare. So can you expand upon that? And what the hell exactly is their healthcare plan for socialized medicine? What do they want to change about Obamacare? I know we rolled back some stuff. So can you expand upon that?
Yeah, well, I guess let's start with the pre-existing conditions because I looked it up, a fact that they said there's roughly, I guess it depends what you consider a pre-existing condition. If you're going to include diabetes and hypertension, which seems like everyone has nowadays, there's roughly 100 million Americans with a pre-existing condition. So when you include those, I mean, that's a third of our population. So the argument that they are going to not cover pre-existing conditions is, I'm talking about the Trump campaign, by the way. Trump, like the argument that he won't cover it is absolutely absurd. And he's even said it himself that he has no problem with pre-existing conditions. What he has a problem with is pretty much socialized medicine and government-funded, expanding government-funded insurances. So,
And I have a clip real quick along those lines because to support your statement.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Now, pre-existing conditions, I'm totally for it, but I'm against Obamacare because Obamacare is too expensive. I already got rid of the individual mandate, which was the worst part of Obamacare. That's where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not paying for bad health insurance.
So he got rid of the individual
that's
mandate.
Perfect. So here's some stats for you, and people can go look these up because I found it really, really interesting. Since 2014. From 2014 to 2017, premiums for health insurance have more than doubled. So back in 2014, they're roughly like $230 a month. Well, now they're over $500, and in some states, they're over $700 average. Now, when you go to the Obamacare, literally Obamacare.net, this is real, okay? And I'm reading directly from their website. They have 4 tiers of medical coverage. They have bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Okay. This is the lowest tier, bronze. And it says the bronze plan for a single 30-year-old non-smoker with a standard bronze plan, the average 2018 premium will be about $379 a month. And that is absolutely absurd. That is, how do we go from only paying an average of $230 to under Obamacare paying almost double that, right? And it blows my mind because people don't understand how expensive healthcare has gotten ever since Obamacare took effect. And go ahead.
No, continue. Sorry, it was my phone.
So there's a lot of things that, in my opinion, and I'm not saying our healthcare is perfect because it's not. There's probably a lot of things that can be fixed, but government intervention is not the best way to do it. So, the individual mandate. So Obama mandated that made it a law, by punishable by tax. They were going to tax you more or not you. I don't remember exactly how they're going to do it. They're going to fine you or tax you more or something if you did not have health insurance, if you did not purchase Obamacare. Well, so many people were actually saying, screw it, I'll still take the hit because it's still cheaper than actually buying Obamacare. It was cheaper for people to take the fine than it was for people to buy Obamacare. So the whole plan failed because the idea behind it is you get enough young people to sign up for healthcare, you, Stein, healthy young guy, no conditions, nothing, right? Well, you're going to be paying $300 a month for your health insurance. Well, the elderly lady down the street who might have all sorts of health issues, all the young people are going to pretty much help fund her insurance. And there weren't enough young people to sign up. So the whole thing kind of collapsed. And that's kind of the reason that Obamacare has been failing. And also, a ton of insurance companies have been pulling out of Obamacare. So they're not even offering Obamacare plans anymore. And there's only like a couple left that are offering it. And the rates are through the roof because it's not advantageous for them to offer it.
Wow, that's crazy. And that makes total sense. I mean, you try and, like you said, you inject government into something that I think should be a free marketplace where you have as many carriers as possible so that everyone's competing and lowering the price for the consumer. Competition is good. And I know I didn't know that fact where people are actually paying fines because it's still cheaper than the one option they have in certain areas. But I had heard that certain areas only had one insurance carrier so they only had one option. So it makes sense that, well, when you only have one option, you're going to get screwed. And it's
a monopoly, right?
Yeah, it's a monopoly. So I think that Obama and like they have a good heart and they want everyone to have affordable health care. But as we've talked about before, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Absolutely.
I'd rather have a guy like Trump who you might not think is going to be the doesn't come off as the most empathetic guy in the world, but guess what? He knows what the hell he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let me clarify. So the fine that I was talking about for individuals not purchasing healthcare, that was the individual mandate that Trump actually undid. So nowadays, I know people that don't have health insurance. I work with people that say, no, it's too expensive. I don't want to pay $400 a month. Do I think that's smart? No. I think that's stupid. What if something what if you get in a car accident and you have to get in an ambulance, taken to the hospital? Ambulance rides are
they have to treat you. They have to treat you in that scenario, but you'll just be
stuck with a bill,
saddled with debt for if it's a huge bill. Yeah, exactly. They're not going to let you bleed out in the street. Well, I think some people may not even realize that. They're like, just because you don't help, they still have to treat you. But yes, you'll not be in a good financial spot.
Literally, yes, brought me to my next point that, for example, like the Canada healthcare, okay? They're not going to treat you if you're a non-citizen, pretty much. So if you walk into an ER there, I'm like 95% sure you're not going to get treated, okay?
They're gonna let you die?
Because you don't have their health care. But in America, guess what? If you walk into an ER, you're going to get seen no matter what. No matter if you have insurance, no insurance, citizen, non-citizen, it doesn't matter. Right. And I don't think people realize that. And then who gets stuck with the bill?
The American taxpayer.
Exactly.
All these illegals that everyone wants to say, oh, it's not their fault, or they're leaving a shithole that's Mexico to come to. They just want a better life. They're just leeching off the system, and we're getting me and you, the American taxpayer. I hate paying taxes. I don't know anyone that likes paying taxes, but I hate it even more when I realize my tax dollars are going towards other people that aren't paying their fair share. Democrats will say, "Oh, pay their fair share." You got all these illegals, and I know we're not talking about taxes right now, but while we're on this subject of paying their fair share, guys like me and you, hard working class Americans, there's all these people out there, and a lot of times they tend to be liberals. So I'm just calling them out real quick, who maybe they're in the service industry or whatnot, and they get paid a lot in tips. They're not paying taxes. They're not paying.
Heck no.
Hell no.
I don't know if I should speak to my time at the golf course working, but man, we got tips, and
that was a summer. That was like a part-time. That was like a summer job, right? Or no. It
was a summer job, but still, I mean, you got to pay taxes on your money you collect.
No, I agree.
Sometimes we'd walk away and have some extra cash in our pocket, but we weren't adding that up at the end of the year and adding a few or a couple $100 to our taxes so we could pay on it.
And my point was just that's relatively small dollars. I mean, there's waiters who work at like nice restaurants and steakhouses that are making six figures, and the bulk of that's in tips. And strippers. I know a girl personally who brags about not paying taxes, and she's a huge lib, hates Trump, and I'm just like, that pisses me off more than anything. Yeah,
So how do you know this girl? Who's this girl?
It's a friend of a friend. I don't know her well, and she's retired from stripping now. She's a bartender now, so I think she probably still hasn't paid any taxes in like the last 5-10 years, as far as I know. But it's just she's not the only one. But it's ridiculous. Liberal
Yeah.
privilege.
Well, going back to the healthcare topic real quick. So, people always talk about Canada and their, universal healthcare and all this sort of stuff. Well, I watched a video of Steven Crowder. I know I've mentioned him a few times on this podcast. Well, he did a
Who is
little
that?
undercut. This was probably 10 years ago. It
Who's
was a
Steven
while
Crowder,
ago.
real quick, because I don't know if you've mentioned him before.
I have not mentioned him.
I don't think so. I don't know who this is off the top of my head. Can you
Okay.
tell everyone who it is?
Steven
your
Crowder is the
neighbor?
one that puts those signs out in front of. He goes to campuses and puts signs out that says "Trump is not a racist. Change my mind."
Oh, okay,
on
gotcha.
YouTube. That's Steven
Yes,
Crowder.
Yes, I know who that is. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So he did an undercover, and he may not be Canadian, but he has like a bunch of friends that are Canadian. He did a couple undercover things where they went into Canadian hospitals with their, health insurance, right? Well, they went into an ER and they waited over like 4 hours just to be seen by a nurse to be triaged. So that's not even to see a doctor. Well, the nurse pretty much told them, okay, you got to go back out into the waiting room. They waited a while longer. They ended up leaving the ER. They went to a quality care down the street, and all they wanted was blood work. And they walk in and go, yeah, we want to get some blood work done. I think I might have high cholesterol or whatever it may be. Well, the nurse literally looks at him and goes, no, we can't do that here. We can't do that here. You're going to have to go somewhere else. You're going to have to go see a primary care. And he said, I've tried to get in to go see a primary care. I can't get in. And the nurse literally goes, yeah, it'll probably be 2 to 3 years for you before you can get in to see a primary care doctor. And this just shows you the inefficiency of a government controlled healthcare system. There's multiple examples of people who need hip, knee replacements, shoulder surgeries, anything, right, that are considered non-emergency, possibly elective surgeries that get pushed out for a year. You hear of people all the time coming from Canada down to the US to get their healthcare done, their work done, because it's pushed so far out in Canada. And you don't ever hear of Americans going up to Canada to get any work done, do you, Stein?
No, I don't. That's a great point. I was about to make that same thing, but you made it for me. So I think even a few years ago, it was like the Prime Minister of Canada came to America for surgery or something like that along those lines.
Well, he's privileged. He can. Yeah. He has money to, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And we're talking more about the lower end income families that get affected by these sorts of policies. And and once again, this is hypothetical, but talk about people who have just a weird headache, man, where they're like, man, I got a headache, and they go in there and they just give them something and let them walk away and say, oh, I'll come back in a year or whatever. Well, what if it was like some sort of brain cancer, right? Where an early diagnosis would have meant saving their life. Yep. I mean, you do hear of cases like this where people unfortunately get diagnosed too late in cancer. Absolutely. And it's just too late and there's nothing they can do. And there's one more thing I wanted to bring up real quick. So the population in America is roughly like 330 million people. Well, 160 million people have coverage either through their employer or private insurance, and 75 million people are covered under Medicaid, which is for low income, and then 61 million people are covered through Medicare, which is obviously 65 and older. So you do the math there, and that leaves you roughly 30 million people in the U.S. that are uninsured.
Yep.
So just between the government programs and private insurance, that covers 90% of Americans. Okay. And yes, I do agree that maybe this 30 million people is a problem, but I don't think that Obamacare and universal healthcare is the answer per se. It's and I wonder who these 30 million people are. Are they can't qualify for Medicaid, obviously, or else they'd be on it. So obviously they're making enough money to be able to afford insurance. We do need to bring the cost down of premiums, max out of pockets, deductibles, all these sorts of things. and make plans affordable. But the only way to do that is by competition and allowing more insurance companies to actually compete for Americans' business.
Agreed. Competition, free market capitalism, core tenets.
It drives innovation too, right? I mean, think about all these pharmaceutical companies and research companies that are trying to develop the next greatest drug for cancer patients or hypertension, diabetes, whatever it is. There's so many research companies, private research companies, that are trying to come up with the next greatest drug because it's money for them. If they come up, wow, that's loud as hell.
Sorry, that was a random. That was a random call. Interrupting my podcast.
Wow.
How dare
Stein.
How dare they?
How can we get that clip of old, what's her name?
Greta?
My favorite girl, Greta.
How dare you?
No, ESPN.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood. Is the money
How dare
and
you,
fairy
Stein.
tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
How dare you?
I love it. All right, sorry, I went on my rant there for a second.
No, it was good.
I feel strongly about it though.
Yeah, as you should.
I feel strongly about it because I feel like most people listening right now probably know, but like I have a pre-existing condition and I have really expensive medication, really expensive. So, I don't think you don't get the quality of care with a universal healthcare system. You just don't. The quality is not there. You might get universality in the sense that everyone gets health insurance, and it might be affordable slightly, kind of. Obamacare clearly was not affordable, but you don't get the quality. You just don't get the quality. And here in America, we literally have the best doctors in the world. And I don't want to sacrifice that.
I don't blame you. So the only other side of the coin to play devil's advocate would be someone in your situation who didn't have as much money. Would they be able to afford the health insurance for all the expensive medication and everything that you take?
So there's a lot of assistance programs out there. So Vertex, pharmaceutical company that supplies one of my medications, and I'll just throw this out there. This is going to shock a lot of people. I don't even know if I should say it, but I have one medication, Stein, just one.
Okay.
Guess how much it costs me a month? The drug costs a month. Take a wild guess.
$200.
Well, no. How much does the medication cost itself? Not how much do I pay? How much does the medication cost?
Oh, okay. $10,000.
$30,000.
Holy shit! Jeez.
Yep.
Per month. How much
per month?
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now guess how much I pay for it? Like $15.
$300? Oh, damn. Sounds pretty reasonable when you put it like that.
Right. Well, and I don't know the logistics behind it, honestly, because you get assistance programs, Big Pharma provides assistance programs. With this type of drug I'm taking, it costs $30,000. It's not even realistic to think that someone could pay that, right?
Yeah,
it's just not,
right.
Unless you're making millions and millions and millions a year. And even then, you don't want to pay it.
No, that's absurd.
Well, there's programs where they actually cover the cost so that it gets you down to only a $15 payment a month. So insurance pays part of it. The big pharma company, Vertex, in my case, pays for part of my drug, and I'm left with a $15 copay that I pay every time I fill my drug every month.
So can anyone get who has the same condition and who's in your same situation, can they get that same assistance? Or I assume anyone can apply and get that same assistance, right?
Right. Yeah. There's copay cards for specific drugs. For example, my mom, I don't even know if I should, she works for a company that has another very, very expensive drug, and she has patients. Now, this drug isn't quite as expensive as mine, but she has patients that get their medication for free that don't have that are on Medicaid and Medicare that are government. They get them for free.
Damn.
So I don't know the correct answer to all this, but it seems to me like for healthcare and insurance companies and all these problems that are being brought to light in the this election year, we need to focus on probably those 30 million Americans that don't have insurance and figure a way to make it more affordable for everyone. And clearly the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, I don't know why the hell you ever put his name on that thing, dude. I would have stayed far away from that bill. But now that's going to go down in history as like one of the worst bills ever. Well, we need to focus on those 30 million Americans and figure out what it is. And I think that part of it could be needing to address the people with pre-existing conditions, because they're the ones that possibly drive up costs. So like when a employer provides health insurance for their employees, if you have a pre-existing condition, you have to increase your coverage, and it goes up for all the employees, not just the one with the pre-existing condition. So and I don't actually know the best way to address it. I'm just kind of spitballing here. There's probably so many different ways to do it, but I think that we just need to make it more affordable and more competition and more insurance companies that hopefully drive down the premiums.
Agreed. That was well said. I learned something new today, Pick.
Thank you. I hope so. I once again, I don't know the answer. I don't have all the answers to all the problems, but I like to put some facts out there and tell people maybe a real life scenario here. And of course, there's scenarios on the other side that people could argue.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. But I think you put together a pretty good argument for why those attack ads you'll see run by the Biden campaign that's saying that Trump won't cover people with a pre-existing condition is basically a complete lie, and that's in line with most of the things I'm hearing coming out of their campaign, even though they purport to be arbiters of truth, along with all the social media monopolies that are on their side.
Yeah. Well, just once again, go back to the fact that how dare they? Go back to the fact there's 100 million Americans with a pre-existing condition. You're going to tell me that Trump is going to ignore a third of the population? It's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people realize how many people have these pre-existing conditions. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a ton. It's more than one might think.
No wonder the Democrats know. That's why they're trying to campaign on that so hard. They're trying to scare these people who maybe don't do the same level of research as you, Pick. So I'm glad that you're letting them know. Maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll tune in.
Maybe we'll get 100 million views on this.
Maybe we'll go viral. We are going to reveal the results of our IQ test on Sunday. Pick and I both took it. I was not there to make sure Pick didn't cheat on his, but I will hand to God, I did not cheat on my test. You have my word.
I will do the exact same. I will put my hand on a Bible and I will say that I did not cheat. I did not use a piece of paper, a pen, anything.
When you guys see my results, you might be like, "Whoa, no way that's accurate." No way. That's either that's just way too high. He doesn't sound that smart. There's no way he's high intelligence. He's up there with Einstein?
You might be Stein.
I'll tell
Einstein and Stein.
You guys,
you might be a long lost relative.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think about that. So you now know my score is somewhere between 85 and 159. So I believe Einstein was a 160. I told you Einstein had me beat, and I told you I was at least average. So Pick, is it safe to say you're in that range as well, or could you be potentially outside of that range?
I could be outside, but not on the lower end, possibly on the upper end.
Oh, wow. Little did we know.
Just kidding, not even close. But I wish we could take some bets on Stein's IQ score.
Yeah, I was texting Pick earlier this week. We should do a segment. One of my favorite shows growing up was Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader with Jeff Foxworthy. Pick, you watched it, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times I couldn't answer the question.
Yeah, right. When you get to 4th and 5th grade, some of those questions could be a little difficult.
Absolutely.
Now, all our questions were true, false, but this felt along those lines, and so we have our own segment. Are you smarter than Stein? And then we ask questions, but we ask them, through a political lens in line with the show.
I like it.
But relatively simple. We're not gonna be like, hey, what's Joe Biden's foreign policy? And that would just be, well, he bows down to China and takes it up the ass. Gives his son huge payments.
That's obvious.
That's kindergarten.
Yeah, that's kindergarten level.
Now I hit you with a 5th grade question. You're gonna be shaking your boots.
I like it. That's a great segment we'll have.
Jason on for this segment.
What?
Jason, if you're listening, I know you're listening. You better start.
Oh, he's listening.
You better get ready.
He's listening.
Me versus you.
He's been mentioned every episode, so he's got to be listening.
Really? Okay, good. Has he been talking some trash? Be honest.
Not that I know of.
So he's
unless
fan.
He's not. What's that?
Is he a fan of the show?
Well, I sure hope so. I don't know how you couldn't be a fan of the show.
Have we helped him change his mind on who he might be voting for come November?
Highly doubtful.
Well, I look forward to our debate. Make sure you keep pestering about that till he agrees to it. The people deserve to hear what we have to say. Well, Pick, I think that about wraps it up for us. Hell of a show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please feel free to subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Pick, you got anything else?
Thanks for having me, dude. I enjoyed it today.
Enjoyed it. We're out. Peace.